My wife got drunk at our first anniversary party and yelled, "I still love my ex. This marriage is a mistake. I only married you for the money." I replied, "Allow me to correct that." Then I pulled out the divorce papers I had ready and served her right there. The waiter had to call a cab for her sobbing. Update at the bottom for those asking what happened next. Not even sure where to begin with this absolute disaster. Throwaway account because half my family uses Reddit and I'm not ready for that conversation yet. Some context. I'm 34 male. Got married to my wife Stephanie last year after dating for 2 years. We had what I thought was a solid relationship built on trust and mutual respect. Turns out I was living in Fantasyland, but that's getting ahead of myself. Stephanie works in real estate and does pretty well for herself. I'm a project manager at a construction company, so we both make decent money. Combined household income around $140K, which is comfortable in our area. No kids yet, but we'd talked about starting a family soon. Our first anniversary was October 15th. We decided to throw a party at this nice restaurant downtown that has a private dining room. Nothing crazy, just close friends and family, maybe 30 people total. I thought it would be nice to celebrate our first year together with everyone who mattered to us. The problem started weeks before the party. Stephanie began acting strange around the time we sent out invitations. Mood swings, distant conversations, checking her phone constantly. When I asked what was wrong, she blamed work stress, said a big deal was falling through. I believed her at the time, because real estate can be unpredictable. Clients back out, financing falls through, inspections reveal problems. Made sense that she'd be stressed about losing a commission, especially with our anniversary expenses coming up. But the phone thing was weird. She used to leave her phone around. Now she took it everywhere, including the bathroom. Started getting texts at odd hours and would quickly delete them before I could see. When I mentioned it, she got defensive, said I was being paranoid. Looking back, all the signs were there. Late nights at the office that didn't match her usual schedule, new clothes and perfume she claimed were for client meetings. Coming home with stories about difficult buyers that didn't quite add up when she told them again. A month before the party, I found out what was really happening. Stephanie had left her laptop open while she was in the shower, and a Facebook message popped up from her ex-boyfriend Derek, who she dated for 3 years before we met. The message was pretty explicit about missing their physical relationship and wanting to meet up again. I scrolled up and saw months of conversations between them. Everything from complaining about our marriage to planning secret meetups when I was out of town for work. My stomach dropped reading through their chat history. She'd told him our marriage was a mistake, made in desperation after her father had financial problems. That she only married me because I had stable income and good credit to help her family through a rough patch. Derek lived 2 states away now, which explains some of the late nights. She'd been driving to meet him in hotels halfway between our cities. During my investigation, I also discovered Derek was married with kids, which made the whole situation even more disgusting. The work stress was actually relationship stress because she was torn between staying married for financial security and running away with her ex. I printed out screenshots of everything before she got out of the shower. Didn't confront her immediately because I needed time to process what I'd discovered. My entire marriage was apparently built on lies and financial convenience rather than love. That night, I moved money from our joint accounts into personal accounts she couldn't access, changed passwords on shared credit cards, and started documenting our assets. If this marriage was really just a business transaction for her, then I was going to protect my side of the deal. I also called my lawyer the next day, explained the situation, and asked about my options. He said adultery wasn't necessarily grounds for immediate divorce in our state, but the evidence would help with asset division. Recommended I gather more documentation before filing anything. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal while collecting evidence. Stephanie continued her late nights and secretive behavior while I played the oblivious husband. Even helped her pick out a dress for our anniversary party, knowing she was probably texting Derek the whole time. During those 3 weeks, I discovered their plans. Derek was going to come to our anniversary party as a surprise. Stephanie had invited him without telling me, claiming he was just an old friend who happened to be in town. They'd planned for him to object during my toast like some romantic comedy scene. The audacity was incredible. She was going to humiliate me at our own anniversary celebration in front of our friends and family, make me look like a fool while she ran off with her true love, all while keeping the financial benefits of being married to me until she could transition to her new life. I had two choices: cancel the party and confront her privately, or let her plan play out and turn it against her. The petty part of me wanted to see the look on her face when her romantic fantasy crashed into legal reality. So I prepared my own surprise. Had my lawyer draft divorce papers citing irreconcilable differences and adultery, gathered all the evidence of her affair and financial motivations, made copies of everything, including bank statements showing how she'd been spending our money on her secret trips. The week before the party, I hired a private investigator to document Derek's arrival and any public displays between them. Wanted ironclad proof of their relationship for the divorce proceedings. Also, hired a process server to be ready with divorce papers at a moment's notice. Anniversary day arrived and I was surprisingly calm. Months of planning had led to this moment, and I was ready for whatever happened. Stephanie was nervous, but I assumed it was because of her planned betrayal. She had no idea what was really coming. We got to the restaurant early to set up decorations and make sure everything was perfect. Stephanie kept checking her phone and asking what time people would start arriving. I knew she was really asking when Derek would show up, but played along with her nervousness. Guests started arriving around 6. Both sets of parents, my siblings, her siblings, and our closest friends. Everyone was happy and excited to celebrate our first year together. The irony wasn't lost on me that we were celebrating the end rather than the beginning. Dinner was scheduled for 7, followed by toasts and cake around 8:30. I'd planned my own toast for 9, which would give Derek time to arrive and Stephanie time to get comfortable. The timing had to be perfect for maximum impact. Derek showed up at 8:15, just as planned. Tall, dark hair, athletic build, everything Stephanie had described in her messages. He hung back near the entrance, scanning the room until Stephanie noticed him. The look of excitement on her face confirmed everything I needed to know. She excused herself to go to the bathroom, but I watched her intercept Derek near the bar. They hugged longer than appropriate for old friends, and I saw her slip something into his hand. Probably room tea for after the party when they planned to celebrate her freedom. When Stephanie returned, she was glowing with anticipation. Kept glancing toward Derek, who was now mingling with other guests and pretending not to know her well. The performance was almost convincing, except I knew exactly what was happening. By 9 o'clock, everyone had finished eating and the mood was perfect for toasts. I stood up and tapped my wine glass to get attention. The room quieted down as 30 people turned to look at me expectantly. I started with the usual anniversary speech about finding your soulmate and building a life together. Thanked everyone for coming and supporting our marriage. Stephanie beamed at me from across the table, probably thinking I was setting up her grand romantic exit perfectly. Then I shifted gears. Talked about the importance of honesty in marriage and how secrets can destroy even the strongest relationships. How some people enter marriage for the wrong reasons, like financial security, rather than love. The room stayed quiet, but I noticed a few confused looks. That's when Stephanie started getting nervous. She could tell something was different about my tone, but couldn't figure out where I was going. Derek looked equally confused from his spot near the back of the room. I pulled out the printed Facebook messages and started reading selected quotes. Stephanie's exact words about marrying me for money and stability. Her complaints about our relationship and promises to Derek about leaving me. The room went dead silent as the implications became clear. Stephanie turned white and started shaking her head, trying to signal me to stop. But I kept reading, including her plans to have Derek show up at our anniversary party. Every eye in the room turned toward the back, where Derek was now trying to disappear. When I finished reading, I looked directly at my wife. You said this marriage was a mistake made for money. Allow me to correct that mistake right now. That's when I signaled to the process server I'd hired, who was waiting near the restaurant entrance. He approached our table and formally served Stephanie with divorce papers for adultery. "Stephanie Wilson, you're being served with divorce papers," he said, as our entire family watched in shock. The explosion was immediate and spectacular. Stephanie started screaming that I was insane and couldn't prove anything, that Derek was just an old friend, and I was humiliating her over nothing. But everyone had heard the Facebook messages and could see Derek trying to sneak out the back door. Her mother started crying, asking what was happening. My mother looked furious that someone had played her son for a fool. The other guests sat in stunned silence, watching our marriage implode in real time. Derek made it halfway across the room before I called him out directly. "Derek Wilson from Sacramento, right? The one she's been meeting in hotels for the past 6 months? The one she told she only married me for financial security?" That stopped him cold. He turned around with this deer-in-headlights expression, confirming his identity to everyone in the room. Stephanie was sobbing now, begging me not to do this in front of everyone. But I was done being manipulated and humiliated. She'd planned to embarrass me at our own anniversary party so she could deal with the consequences of her actions. Fair is fair. The restaurant manager came over asking if everything was okay. I apologized for the disruption and explained there was a family emergency. Most of our guests understood and started gathering their things to leave. The party was obviously over. Stephanie was completely fallen apart by this point. Drunk on wine and emotions, sobbing about how sorry she was and how we could work things out, begged me not to throw away our marriage over a mistake. But cheating for 6 months isn't a mistake. It's a choice. Derek finally grew a spine and came over to help her. Started saying something about how they never meant for things to go this far. I told him he was welcome to her now that everyone knew the truth. That he could have the woman who married someone else for money while sleeping with him on the side. The waiter had to call a cab because neither of them was sober enough to drive. Stephanie kept crying and apologizing while Derek awkwardly held her up. They made quite a pair standing on the sidewalk waiting for their ride to shame. I stayed behind to settle the bill and apologized to the staff, tipped extra for the drama and cleanup. The manager was understanding, said he'd seen everything from cheating spouses to custody battles over the years. Just another night in the restaurant business. My parents offered to come home with me, but I needed space to process everything. The house felt different, knowing Stephanie wouldn't be coming back. Emptier, but also cleaner somehow. Like a weight had been lifted. She tried calling and texting for days afterward. Long messages about how she'd made a terrible mistake and how Derek meant nothing compared to our marriage. How she'd been confused and scared about our future together. Standard cheater playbook stuff. I forwarded everything to my lawyer and blocked her number. Also changed the locks and alarm codes in case she tried coming back for her things. Her clothes and personal items went into storage until the divorce was finalized. She could collect them later with supervision. The divorce took about 8 months to finalize, but went smoothly since we had clear evidence of adultery. No kids or complex assets to divide, just splitting accounts and determining who kept what. The Facebook messages showed her motivations clearly, which helped with the settlement. Derek apparently dumped her 2 weeks after the party. Guess having an affair is more exciting than dealing with someone's messy divorce. Stephanie moved back in with her parents and started posting sad quotes on social media about betrayal and heartbreak. The irony was incredible. 8 months later, and I'm doing great. Bought a condo downtown closer to work. Started dating again and found someone who actually likes me for me rather than my credit score. Life is much simpler when you're not constantly being lied to and manipulated. Stephanie still reaches out occasionally through mutual friends, asking if we could talk or meet for closure, but there's nothing left to discuss. She showed me exactly who she was at our anniversary party, and I responded accordingly. Some bridges burn completely, and that's perfectly fine. The best part is knowing she lost everything for a guy who dumped her the moment things got real. Financial security, marriage, stable home, all gone for a fantasy relationship that lasted 2 weeks. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Update since people keep asking. Stephanie's real estate career took a hit after word spread through the local business community about her behavior. Apparently, she'd been meeting Derek during work hours, and clients started questioning her professionalism. Derek's wife found out about the affair and left him too. Both marriages ended, and Derek moved across the country to escape the mess he'd created. Stephanie works at a retail store now, living with her parents at 30 years old. Posts constantly on social media about learning to love herself and growing from past mistakes. But still asks mutual friends about my dating life, so she clearly hasn't moved on completely. I'm engaged to someone amazing who actually appreciates honesty and commitment. We're having a small wedding next spring, nothing fancy. Planning to elope might be safer given my track record with anniversary parties. Some people think I was harsh serving papers at our anniversary party. But she planned to humiliate me that same night in front of the same people. The only difference is my plan actually worked, and hers backfired spectacularly. Marriage should be about love and partnership, not financial convenience. When someone shows you their true priorities, believe them the first time. Don't wait around hoping they'll magically become better people. Best decision I ever made was preparing those divorce papers in advance. Sometimes you have to be ready to call someone's bluff when they think you're too weak to walk away. Trust your instincts and protect yourself from people who see you as a bank account with legs.